Hello, and welcome back to Diecast Graveyard. My name is Paul. Today we have another 3 blind mice challenge. We're going to modify or customize a Ford Ranchero. Now this is a mainline car that you can pretty much find anywhere you go, like Walmart or Target or Dollar Store or any place like that. But we're going to go through and customize the paint, do a wheel swap on here, maybe switch out the base, and we're going to have a good time with this. So stick around and let's have some fun, and hopefully we got something here for the participants of the 3 Blind Mice Challenge. I've already got the car drilled apart. At least I think I do. There we go. Haven't filed down the ends yet to make it easy to take apart. Here's the body. Pretty cool looking car back in the days when this came out back in the early 70s. Here we go with those damn plastic bases and plastic wheels again. Interior's just standard interior, and we got a tinted windshield. That's actually pretty cool. Let's get it in the stripper. We'll put this Ford Ranchero in the paint stripper. Get that taken care of here. Since we're going to be doing a color swap, we'll make sure that we cover it inside and out to get rid of the paint using this citrus strip. I reuse the citrus strip for quite a while until it starts getting full up of old paint chips and stuff like that. Here I've coated it with white primer. Now we're going to come in with some Createx iridescent pearl green. Figure I'd try something different here. But this paint's got a beautiful shimmer to it. Now, this paint is naturally runny. I mean, initially it's thick, but you got to reduce it anyways. But I try to reduce it just a little bit more because it flows easier through the airbrush. Like any other paint, you want to make sure you do some tack coats. But the thing about this paint is that it can dry really quick. So once I get a little bit on there, I'll use the airbrush and the air from it to go ahead and dry it, and then I'll immediately come back in and put some more paint down. Make sure you get all those hard to reach areas first, or those little corners and stuff like that, like in the back of the bed and in the corners there and underneath in the fender wells. Man, that's starting to pop already. Haven't even got the first coat down. It's got a beautiful shimmer to it. It's awful hard to see in the video. That is going on really nice though. I recommend you try some of these Createx paints. It's a little bit of a learning curve, but once you figure it out, they got a bunch of great colors. Put on a bunch more coats here, drying them in between, and you can see the shimmer on here. But man, I tell you, if it was out in the sunlight, it would blind you. The pearlescent sheen on this is absolutely amazing. Well, I think we're going to put some custom stripes down. There you go, pearl lime green. Great stuff. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to put some custom stripes down the roof and on the hood of this car. Now I went ahead and I taped it off, and we're going to put a base coat of silver. Again, same thing. Just put some very light mist coats. You want to build up the paint around the edges of the tape stripes, because if you don't, it'll leach under there if you get it too wet. And then I'll dry it in between, as you see here. Put a little bit down and then dry it. Put a little bit down and then dry it. But keep your eye on the edge of the tape in case it starts to pull off, because again, that will leach underneath the tape and you don't want to do that. Okay, let's move on to the next part. Here I've taped off the stripes and I've put down some mesh. Now if you can find mesh in different kinds of patterns and stuff like that, it's going to be really cool. Now I'm spraying down some pearl purple. Now, when you're holding down the mesh, you want to make sure that it's stretched tightly across the car so it doesn't like raise up in the air or move around. And because if you do, it'll look foggy. If it's down right up against and tight up against the car, it'll give you a real nice clear pattern. Now later on, as I pulled it off, the front end of the tape on the hood, the mesh, had come up a little bit, so it looks a little foggy. It still looks cool, but it could definitely look better. There's your tip today from your Uncle Paulie. All right, and you don't want to put too much down. Now here I'm drying in between. And when you're done, you want to go ahead and peel all this off. Here we've got the tape all peeled off. That looks pretty good. Notice how the mesh looks a lot better in the back than it does in the front. It still looks pretty cool, but again, if you have it tight up against the surface, it's going to look that much better. I let it dry for about 12 hours. Now I'm going to go through and we're going to put on the clear coat. Using the clear coat that I got from the Redline shop. That stuff works fantastic. I mean, you can go buy the automotive clear at your local automotive store and the hardener and everything else. And I do have some of that. But I prefer using the Redline shop clear. It's urethane paint and it works fantastic. The other tip I recommend is if you're going to be switching off between Createx paint and the paints from the Redline shop and your urethane paints, try and have a dedicated airbrush to the particular paints that you're using. The Createx paints are water-based paints. The other paints are urethane-based paints, and later on you may come across something that's enamel-based, etc. If you have a brush dedicated to these particular kinds of paints, there's going to be a lot of times where you're not going to have to go in and do a really deep cleaning of your airbrush. Because every time I switch between the paints, I've got to go in and do a super deep cleaning. So definitely something to be aware of. If your paints and your gun starts gumming up and everything else, that's probably the reason. Make sure you put some really nice coats on there, some mist coats, let it build up, and then you can come back in and saturate it really nice. That's starting to look sweet. This isn't a very difficult build, and you guys can do this also. I implore you to go ahead, go out and get yourself a cheap airbrush, maybe one from Harbor Freight or something like that, and do experiment with and see if you're going to like it. They're very reasonably priced, but if you get the Harbor Freight brush, make sure that you get the plan that goes with it, because if something happens to it, you can switch it out for free. Here we've got all the parts together. I've got the base that turned out fantastic. The body turned out fantastic. Look at that iridescent pearl sheen. That looks beautiful with that clear coat on there. I've still got to go in and detail the tail lights and stuff like that, which you'll find out that I do. I did find a metal base with beautiful Real Rider tires. Going to put that on. Interior's just the way it was, and so's the window with the tinted windows. Let's do our reveal. And here's what we had. A mainline Ford Ranchero. It's a cool car in its own right, but it's definitely kind of boring. So we want to get rid of that, and we want to spruce it up and make it look really cool. Now, when you finish watching the video, check out the other 3 Blind Mice builds. Just do a search for 3 Blind Mice Diecast, and they will have other cars come up, and you'll see what the other people are doing too. Now, if you don't like somebody's car, don't leave a thumbs down. But if you're going to leave a comment, go ahead and leave a comment, please. But just say what you don't like, but don't tear up anybody. I mean, if you're not putting anything out there either, then, just enjoy what content the people are putting out. If you're going to put a thumbs down, at least have the courtesy to write down what you didn't like. And just because you like Keith's build better than Paul's build or something like that, that's not a reason to leave a thumbs down. And this is what we got to. A beautiful pearl lime green paint. We got the details in there with the taillights. We got the metal base with the Real Rider tires. And we got that custom stripe down the middle. Very simple, easy build, but it definitely transforms that car into something completely different. I had a lot of fun with this car, and like I said, please check out the other 3 Blind Mice builds. People who do some fantastic work out there. All the guys from the 3 Blind Mice, Paul and Lee and George, they put on a great show, and they're fantastic builders. Check them out, and check out anybody else who put up a video for this 3 Blind Mice build. Now, I have a Patreon page, and I want to tell you about that. I put out these videos, and the videos eat up a lot of supplies. And my Patreon members are ones that are helping me buy my supplies so I can keep these videos going, especially during this coronavirus pandemic. I've been trying to knock out a video like every other day, and so far it's working out pretty good, every 2 days at the most. So please keep following the page, subscribe to the page if you haven't done so in the past, and I'm going to keep knocking this stuff out as best as I can. I'd like to thank my hearse drivers, Jim Silva, Stacy Wright, Daryl Begtel, and Richard over at Michio Woods Garage. If there's a symbol next to their name, like YouTube or Facebook, please go check out their page. Gravedigger drivers, Aaron Murphy, Ed Ostrander, Andrew Hitchens, Bob Denice, Les Jenkins, Wade Hendricks, Trevor DeViz, and new member Grizz Flowers. Also, I would like to mention new member Ronald Raby as a hearse driver. Thank you so much, Ron. I really appreciate your help, and welcome aboard to the Diecast Graveyard team. Under the Mortician level, I'd like to thank Jake Rademacher and Sam Pascal. I hope you're feeling better, buddy. Under the Grim Reaper level, William K7 Robinson, thank you, brother, and Dale Johnson. Gentlemen, I couldn't do this without you. Thank you so much. I want to thank you for joining me today on the 3 Blind Mice Ranchero Challenge. Like I said, please check out the other builders' videos and see what they come up with. Thank you again, and my name is Paul with Diecast Graveyard. Please like, share, and subscribe, and thanks for following me on YouTube at Diecast Graveyard. Cheers, my friends.